The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zethkar's tentacles trembled with barely contained horror. His 4 eyes, normally a calm blue, had shifted to the deep purple of absolute terror. Around the circular assembly, representatives from dozens of species sat frozen, their various forms of breathing apparatus working overtime as panic set in. "You cannot be serious," whispered Senator Vex Thul, her crystalline body refracting the chamber's light into nervous patterns. "A human child? Approaching the void serpent of Kepler 442? Ambassador Zethkar's translation device crackled as he struggled to find words in Standard Galactic. The transmission came from the mining colony on Kepler 442b. A human exploration vessel crash-landed 3 solar cycles ago. We thought all aboard had perished when the void serpent emerged from the planet's core. The massive view screen at the center of the chamber flickered to life, showing grainy footage from a remote surveillance drone. The image revealed a hellscape of black volcanic glass and sulfurous yellow clouds. In the distance, coiled around what remained of a mountain, lay something that defied description in any civilized language. The void serpent of Kepler 442 stretched nearly 50 kilometers from its massive head to its barbed tail. Its scales weren't merely black. They seemed to absorb light itself, creating patches of absolute darkness that hurt to look at directly. Along its spine, rows of crystalline spines pulsed with energy that could tear holes in space-time. This creature had single-handedly destroyed 3 Confederation fleets and consumed the populations of 2 entire star systems. "There," Zethkar pointed with a shaking tentacle. "Watch the lower right quadrant." The assembled aliens leaned forward, their various optical organs straining to see. Among the twisted metal debris of the human ship, a small figure moved. The drone's sensors focused, and the image became clearer. It was indeed a human child, no more than 7 or 8 rotations old by their species standards. She wore what appeared to be a torn environmental suit, far too large for her small frame. Her hair, the color of autumn leaves on her homeworld, hung in tangled strands around her face. But what struck the council most was her complete lack of fear. "By the great void," breathed Councillor Thex Rim, his insectoid mandibles clicking rapidly. "She's walking toward it." The child picked her way carefully through the debris field, her small hands pushing aside chunks of twisted metal. She moved with the determined gait of someone who knew exactly where they were going. Behind her, the ruins of the human vessel still smoldered, its emergency beacons long since fallen silent. How is she even alive? Senator Vex Thul's voice rose to a crystalline shriek. "The atmospheric composition of Kepler 442b is lethal to carbon-based life. The radiation levels alone should have killed her within minutes." "Humans," replied Ambassador Korvesh, his reptilian features twisting into what might have been discussed. "Their death world origins make them absurdly resilient. But this is beyond even their usual madness." The drone followed the child's progress as she approached a massive crater. At its center, the void serpent's head rested. Each scale the size of a starfighter. The creature's eyes were closed, but even in sleep, energy crackled between its crystalline spines. The very air around it shimmered with lethal radiation. "She'll die the moment she gets within 100 meters, Zethkar said, though his voice lacked conviction. "No living being can survive that close to a void serpent. The energy field alone will reduce her to component atoms." The child reached the crater's edge and began her descent. Her small feet found purchase on the unstable volcanic glass, sending small cascades of debris tumbling into the depths. The sound should have awakened the beast, but it remained still. "Why isn't it reacting?" whispered Councillor Thex Rim. "Void serpents are apex predators. They can sense approaching life forms from light years away." Ambassador Korvesh consulted his datapad with clawed fingers. "According to our xenobiological databases, void serpents feed on electromagnetic energy and fear responses. The more terrified their prey, the more nourishment they derive from the kill. And humans? Humans often display irrational courage in the face of certain death. Their neural chemistry doesn't process fear the same way as other species. They have something they call fight or flight response, but they frequently choose fighting even when flight would be logical." The child was now 50 meters from the creature's massive head. The air around her began to shimmer and distort. Her environmental suit should have been registering lethal readings, but she continued forward undeterred. "She's going to die," Zethkar said flatly. "And when she does, the Void Serpent will awaken fully energized. It will sense the other human survivors and hunt them down. Then it will return to deep space and continue its reign of terror." "Other survivors?" Senator Vexthal's voice cracked. "Our deep scans detected 17 other human life signs scattered across the planet's surface. Adults and children. This little one's death will doom them all." The council watched in horrified fascination as the child approached the 20-meter mark. At this distance, the Void Serpent's energy field should have been cooking her alive. Her suit's radiation sensors should have been screaming warnings. Yet she walked on, her small hand now reaching toward something tucked into her belt. What is she carrying? Counselor Thex Rim enhanced the image as much as the drone's sensors would allow. The object in the child's hand appeared to be some kind of primitive human artifact. Soft, worn, and roughly the shape of a small quadruped. Its fabric had been patched multiple times, and one of its appendages was missing. "A comfort object," Ambassador Corvesh explained after consulting his cultural database. "Human young often form emotional attachments to inanimate objects that provide psychological security. They call them stuffed animals or plush toys." "She's carrying a toy," Zethkar said in disbelief. "She's approaching the most dangerous predator in known space, and she's carrying a toy." The child was now 15 meters away. The Void Serpent's breathing caused small earthquakes with each inhalation. Its crystalline spines pulsed brighter, responding to some unknown stimulus. The creature's massive eyelids began to flutter. "It's waking up," Senator Vexthal whispered. "By the eternal stars, it's waking up." The council held their collective breath as the Void Serpent's eyes opened. Each orb was the size of a small spacecraft, glowing with internal fire that had witnessed the birth and death of stars. The creature's head lifted slightly, causing an avalanche of volcanic glass. The child stopped walking. For a moment, the two beings regarded each other across the cosmic gulf that separated predator from prey, ancient evil from innocent youth, destroyer of worlds from a small girl with a torn stuffed animal. Then the child did something that caused every alien in the Galactic Council to question their understanding of the universe. She smiled. Not the desperate grin of someone facing death, not the manic expression of madness or despair. A genuine, warm smile of recognition and joy. As if she had just encountered an old friend, the Void Serpent's massive head tilted slightly, and for the first time in recorded history, the cosmic horror that had brought civilization to its knees made a sound other than its legendary death scream. It purred. The sound was felt rather than heard, a vibration that resonated through the planet's crust and into space itself. The drone's sensors registered harmonic frequencies that shouldn't have been possible from a creature of destruction. "This is impossible," Zethkar breathed. "Void serpents don't purr. They don't show affection. They consume and destroy. It's their nature." The child took another step forward, now close enough to touch the creature's massive snout. Her small hand reached out, still clutching her stuffed animal, and placed her palm against a scale the size of a dinner table. The effect was immediate and profound. The Void Serpent's aggressive energy field began to shift, cycling through colors that had no names in any known language. The crackling electricity along its spines softened to a gentle glow. Most impossibly of all, the creature began to lower its massive head. "She's not afraid," Senator Vexthal said in amazement. "She's not afraid of it at all." "But that's what makes Void Serpents so dangerous," Counselor Thexrim protested. "They feed on fear, on the terror of their prey. Without fear, they can't." He stopped speaking as the full implication hit him. Around the council chamber, representatives from dozens of species came to the same horrifying realization. "Without fear," Ambassador Corvesh said slowly, "they can't feed their destructive instincts. Their aggression is tied to their need for psychic energy derived from terror. But humans don't always feel appropriate fear," Zethkar finished. "Their young especially seem incapable of recognizing obvious threats. They approached dangerous situations with curiosity instead of caution. On the screen, the child had begun to pat the void serpent's snout with her free hand. The creature's purring grew louder, causing seismic readings across 3 continents. Its massive tail, previously coiled in an aggressive posture, began to unwind and settle more comfortably around the mountain's base. "She's petting it," Senator Vex Thul said in a voice barely above a whisper. "A human child is petting the most feared creature in the galaxy, and it's enjoying the attention." A first greeted was the fold. The implications rippled through the council chamber like a shockwave. For centuries, the void serpents had been an unstoppable force of nature, appearing without warning to devastate entire systems. Fleets had been built specifically to flee when their sensors detected the creature's approach. Entire sectors had been abandoned rather than risk confrontation. And now, a small human child with a stuffed animal was treating the ultimate cosmic horror like a particularly large pet. "We need to study this phenomenon," Zethkar said, his tentacles writhing with excitement. "If humans can somehow pacify void serpents, the implications for galactic security are—" His words were cut off as the child did something even more impossible than what had come before. She stood on her tiptoes, pulled the creature's massive head down slightly with her small hands, and pressed her lips to the center of its snout. She kissed it. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos. The kiss lasted exactly 3 seconds by galactic standard time measurement, but its effects would be felt across the known universe for generations. The moment the human child's lips made contact with the void serpent's snout, every sensor in the Kepler system registered an energy surge unlike anything in recorded history. "Impossible," breathed Dr. Nexvel, the Council's chief xenobiologist, her multiple optical sensors clicking as they struggled to process the readings. "The quantum resonance cascade is off every scale we have. The creature's entire biological matrix is restructuring itself." On the view screen, the void serpent's massive form began to change. The light-absorbing darkness of its scales shifted, becoming a deep midnight blue shot through with veins of silver. The predatory spines along its back retracted slightly, their threatening points becoming more rounded. Most remarkably, the creature's eyes lost their hellish glow and took on a warm, almost gentle luminescence. The child stepped back from her kiss and giggled, a sound that the drone's audio receptors transmitted clearly across the void of space. To the assembled aliens, it was perhaps the most terrifying sound they had ever heard. Not because it was frightening, but because it represented something their advanced civilizations had lost long ago. Pure, innocent joy in the face of the unknown. She laughed, Senator Vex Thul whispered, her crystalline form refracting the chamber lights in patterns of disbelief. She kissed a cosmic horror and then laughed about it. The void serpent responded to the child's laughter by doing something equally unprecedented. It began to move with careful, deliberate gentleness, positioning its massive form so that the child could reach its head more easily. The creature's coils, each one capable of crushing battleships, rearranged themselves into what could only be described as a more comfortable position for interaction. It's trying to make itself more accessible to her," observed Ambassador Corvesh, his reptilian features twisted in confusion. "A creature that has never shown anything but destructive intent is now actively facilitating peaceful contact." Commander Zixthara, military liaison for the Andromedan Defense Force, leaned forward in her chair. Her battle-scarred exoskeleton reflected years of conflict against these very creatures. "In all my encounters with void serpents, they've never shown adaptive behavior toward anything that wasn't prey or threat. Their attack patterns are consistent across centuries of observation, but this suggests intelligence far beyond what we've attributed to them, Doctor." Nexvel interrupted, her sensors whirring as they processed continuous data streams. "Look at these readings. The creature's brain activity is increasing exponentially. Neural pathways that showed only predatory instincts are now lighting up with patterns we typically associate with higher-order thinking." The child had begun to explore her new companion with the fearless curiosity that seemed to define her species. She climbed onto one of the serpent's lower coils, using the now smooth scales as handholds. The creature remained perfectly still, its massive eyes tracking her movement with what appeared to be protective concern. "She's treating it like playground equipment," Counselor Thex Rim observed, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "A creature that could swallow our largest dreadnought whole, and she's using it as a jungle gym." "The quantum field readings are stabilizing," Dr. Nexeville reported. "Whatever transformation occurred during that kiss appears to be permanent. The creature's energy signature has fundamentally altered. I'm detecting none of the aggressive pheromones or electromagnetic disturbances typically associated with void serpents." Ambassador Zethkar had remained silent through most of this exchange, his tentacles coiled tightly as he processed the implications. Finally, he spoke. "We need to contact the human authorities immediately. This changes everything we understand about human-serpent interaction. The nearest human diplomatic vessel is 6 parsecs away," Commander Zeexthera replied. "But according to our emergency protocols, we should be evacuating every inhabited system within 50 light-years. A void serpent has never remained in one location this long without beginning a feeding rampage." "Look at the energy readings, Doctor," Nexeville interjected. "This creature isn't preparing to feed. If anything, it's entered some kind of dormant state while remaining fully conscious. It's almost as if..." "As if what?" Senator Vexthul demanded. "As if it's content. Genuinely content for the first time in its existence." The view screen flickered as the surveillance drone adjusted its position for a better angle. The child had found a spot where 2 of the serpent's coils created a natural seat and had settled there with her stuffed animal. The massive creature had arranged its head nearby, close enough that she could continue to pet its snout while she made herself comfortable. "She's not treating it like a monster," Counselor Thex Rim realized. "To her, it's just a very large animal that happens to be friendly. Human children apply their limited understanding of the world to everything they encounter. But that's exactly what makes this so dangerous," Commander Zeexthara argued. "Humans consistently underestimate threats because their evolutionary psychology is calibrated for a single death world. They have no innate fear of cosmic-scale dangers because such things don't exist in their natural environment." As if summoned by their discussion, the drone's sensors detected movement from other parts of the planet. The 17 other human survivors had begun to emerge from their various shelters and hiding places. Adults and children alike were making their way toward the crater, where the impossible scene continued to unfold. "The other humans are approaching," Ambassador Zethkar observed. "This could be catastrophic. If the creature perceives them as a threat to the child, but as the first adult human crested the crater's rim, the void serpent's reaction defied all expectations. Rather than aggression or territorial behavior, the creature lifted its head slightly and made the same purring sound it had produced for the child, its massive eyes fixed on the newcomers with what could only be described as curiosity. Dr. Sarah Chen, xenobiologist, Human Colonial Expedition, 7729. The woman identified herself through her suit's communicator as she approached the impossible scene. Her voice carried the calm professionalism that humans seem to maintain even in the most extraordinary circumstances. "Hello, sweetheart," she said to the child, her tone carefully controlled. "I see you've made a new friend." The child looked up from where she sat, nestled between the creature's coils. "Her name is Luna," she announced with the matter-of-fact certainty of childhood. "She was sleeping, but she woke up when I said hello. I think she was lonely." Dr. Chen's face, visible through her helmet visor, went through several expressions in rapid succession. Professional amazement, parental concern, and scientific fascination warred for dominance. "Luna is a very impressive friend, Emma. How did you know she was friendly?" "She has sad eyes," Emma replied, reaching up to pat the serpent's snout again. "Like when Buster is scared during thunderstorms." The comparison between a cosmic horror and the child's apparent pet back on Earth sent waves of incredulous murmur through the council chamber. "But Dr. Chen seemed to understand immediately. Emma has an unusual gift for reading emotional states in animals," she explained, presumably for any listening devices. "She's been able to calm aggressive fauna on 3 different worlds during our expedition. But this is beyond anything in our xenobiological databases." Another human voice joined the conversation. Dr. Marcus Webb, Expedition Commander. We've been monitoring the situation from a safe distance. More humans appeared at the crater's edge, but the Void Serpent showed no signs of agitation. Instead, it seemed to welcome each new arrival with the same gentle purring sound. The creature's massive form remained perfectly still, conscious of the small human child nestled safely within its protective coils. The creature's behavior suggests a complete personality restructure, Dr. Chen observed, her scientific training overriding the surreal nature of the situation. Void serpents are typically hyper-aggressive, territorial, and driven by predatory instincts. This individual is displaying protective, nurturing, and almost domestic behaviors. What caused the change? Dr. Webb asked. Dr. Chen consulted her scanner readings. Emma made physical contact. Specifically, what appears to have been a kiss to the creature's snout. The quantum resonance from that contact initiated a cascade effect throughout the creature's entire biological system. In the council chamber, the assembled aliens absorbed this information with growing amazement and horror. A kiss, Senator Vexthal said in disbelief. One human child's kiss transformed a cosmic destroyer into a protective companion. It's not just the physical contact, Dr. Nexvel realized, studying her readouts. It's the emotional context. The child approached without fear, with genuine affection and empathy. Void serpents feed on psychic energy generated by terror and aggression. When presented with the opposite emotional state, they transform, Ambassador Zethkar finished. The question is, can this effect be replicated? The answer came sooner than expected. As the humans began to establish a temporary camp near their transformed guardian, Dr. Chen approached the creature with careful, measured steps. The Void Serpent watched her approach with intelligent eyes, its massive head lowering until it was within reach. Dr. Chen removed her glove and placed her bare hand against the creature's snout, much as little Emma had done. The effect was immediate but different. While the creature didn't undergo another transformation, it closed its eyes and leaned into the contact, clearly enjoying the gentle touch. Remarkable, Doctor, Chen breathed. It's not just tolerating contact, it's seeking it out. Void serpents are highly social creatures that have been forced into isolation by their own aggressive nature. When that aggression is removed, they become gentle giants, Dr. Webb concluded, approaching with his own outstretched hand. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence as, one by one, the human survivors made peaceful contact with the creature that had been the terror of space. Children climbed on its coils, adults examined its crystalline spines with scientific curiosity, and the Void Serpent, Luna, as Emma had christened her, seemed to bask in the attention. We need to contact the Human Colonial Authority immediately, Ambassador Zethkar declared. If humans can consistently produce this effect on Void Serpents, it could revolutionize our understanding of these creatures. Or it could be a fluke, Commander Zeeks-Thera cautioned. One transformed serpent doesn't establish a pattern. And we still don't know if the effect is permanent, or if the creature could revert to its aggressive state. The answer to that question was about to reveal itself in the most human way possible. 7 standard days had passed since Emma's first kiss transformed Luna from cosmic horror to gentle guardian. The human survivors had established a thriving temporary settlement in the crater. Using the Void Serpent's massive coils as natural windbreaks and her crystalline spines as power sources for their equipment. The sight of children playing hide-and-seek among scales the size of vehicles while adults conducted scientific research had become routine, but routine was about to be shattered. The first warning came from Luna herself. The great creature's head shot up suddenly, her newly gentle eyes scanning the star-filled sky with urgent intensity. The harmonic purring that had become the settlement's constant background noise cut off abruptly, replaced by a sound none of them had heard before. A low, musical call that resonated through both atmosphere and space. "What's wrong, Luna?" Emma asked, looking up from where she'd been drawing pictures in the volcanic sand with her stuffed animal. The 6-year-old had become the creature's unofficial translator, somehow understanding Luna's moods and needs better than any scientific instrument. Luna's massive head turned toward the child, and for a moment, Her eyes flickered with an emotion that chilled Dr. Chen to the bone. Fear. Not the predatory wariness of a hunter, but the deep, protective fear of a mother sensing danger to her young. Dr. Chen. Commander Webb's voice crackled through the comm system from the observation post they'd established on a nearby ridge. We're detecting massive quantum disturbances approaching from deep space. Multiple signatures. Big ones. The blood drained from Dr. Chen's face as she checked her scanners. The readings were unmistakable and terrifying. How many? 7, possibly 8, all showing classic Void Serpent energy signatures. In the Galactic Council chamber, which had maintained constant surveillance since the transformation, chaos erupted again. A pod, Ambassador Zethkar whispered, his tentacles writhing in terror. An entire pod of Void Serpents is approaching Kepler. 442. They must have sensed the quantum disturbance from the transformation, or they've come for their missing member, suggested Dr. Nexvel grimly. Void Serpents have never shown social behavior before, but if they're capable of the bonds we've observed with humans, they're coming to investigate, Senator Vexthul concluded. And when they see what's happened to one of their kind, they'll consider it an attack. Commander Zeeksthara finished. 8 enraged Void Serpents. We need to evacuate the entire system immediately, but even as the Galactic Council scrambled to coordinate emergency evacuations, the humans on Kepler 442 were responding in a way that defied all conventional wisdom. They weren't fleeing, they weren't panicking. Instead, they were gathering around Luna, whose distress was becoming more apparent by the minute. She's calling to them, Emma announced with the confident certainty that only children possessed. She's trying to tell them something important. Emma, sweetheart. We need to get to the shelter, Dr. Chen said, trying to keep her voice calm as she reached for the child, but Emma shook her head stubbornly. No. Understand what? That we're friends. That being friends is better than being scary. Dr. Chen felt her scientific training warring with her protective instincts. Every rational part of her mind screamed that they should be running for the emergency evacuation pods, but the readings from Luna were unlike anything in their databases. The creature was displaying complex emotional states that suggested intelligence far beyond what anyone had attributed to Void Serpents. The decision was taken out of her hands when the approaching pod of Void Serpents dropped out of hyperspace. 8 massive forms materialized in Kepler 442's atmosphere, their combined presence causing electromagnetic storms across 3 continents. Each creature was as large as Luna, their scales the traditional light-absorbing black of untransformed serpents. The energy discharges from their crystalline spines created aurora displays that could be seen from orbit. Luna's call intensified, becoming a complex song that vibrated through dimensions the humans could barely perceive. Her own scales began to shift color, displaying the silver-streaked blue of her transformation, while somehow also projecting patterns of light that spoke to her approaching kin. She's communicating with them, Dr. Webb observed from his position. Some kind of bio-quantum language, using electromagnetic resonance. What is she telling them? Dr. Chen asked, though she suspected she already knew. Emma, who had remained pressed against Luna's side throughout the exchange, suddenly brightened. She's telling them about us. She's explaining that humans are different, that we don't taste like fear. The first of the approaching serpents descended toward the crater, its massive form blotting out the stars. As it drew closer, the humans could see the same hellish glow in its eyes that Luna had once possessed. This was a creature of pure predatory instinct, drawn by the quantum disturbance and expecting to find prey. What it found instead was Luna, transformed, and protecting a small group of beings who showed no fear of its approach. The newcomer's landing sent seismic shocks through the crater, but Luna positioned herself protectively between the humans and her aggressive kin. The 2 Void Serpents faced each other in a confrontation that should have been cataclysmic. Instead, Luna began to sing. It wasn't the terrifying death scream that Void Serpents were known for, but something entirely new. A complex melody that seemed to carry meaning across species barriers. The aggressive newcomer tilted its massive head, clearly confused by this unprecedented behavior from one of its own kind. She's showing it her memories, Emma said with absolute conviction. She's sharing what it feels like to be loved instead of feared. Dr. Chen's scanners confirmed what seemed impossible. The two creatures were engaged in some form of quantum-level information exchange, sharing not just thoughts, but actual experiences. Luna was literally transmitting the emotional resonance of her transformation to her aggressive kin. The effect was gradual but unmistakable. The hellish glow in the newcomer's eyes began to dim, replaced by something approaching curiosity. Its aggressive posture relaxed slightly as it processed the completely foreign concept of benevolent contact with another species. "It's working," Dr. Webb breathed. Luna is actually teaching it about peaceful interaction. But the process was far from complete when the other 6 serpents arrived, descending in a coordinated formation that spoke to intelligence and tactical thinking. They arranged themselves in a circle around the crater, their combined presence creating an electromagnetic field that interfered with every piece of human technology. In the center of this terrifying amphitheater, Luna continued her song, now addressing all her kin simultaneously. Her voice carried new harmonics as she wove together the experiences of the past week. The first gentle touch, the transformative kiss, the joy of playing with children, the satisfaction of protection rather than destruction. They're not convinced, Dr. Chen realized, watching her readings. Some of them are. But others are still showing aggressive patterns. The largest of the newcomers, a creature that dwarfed even Luna, descended directly into the crater. Its landing created a small earthquake, and its eyes burned with predatory intelligence that had consumed entire civilizations. When it opened its mouth, the sound that emerged was the classic death scream of its species, a noise designed to paralyze prey with terror. Every human in the settlement should have been reduced to quivering panic. Their nervous systems should have shut down in the face of such concentrated predatory intent. Instead, something remarkable happened. Emma stepped forward. The 6-year-old girl walked calmly toward the largest void serpent in recorded history, her small hand clutching her worn stuffed animal. Behind her, Luna's protective instincts warred with her trust in human resilience. "Emma, no!" Dr. Chen started forward, but Dr. Webb caught her arm. "Wait," he said quietly. "Look at Luna's readings. She's not panicking. She trusts Emma." Emma stopped directly in front of the massive creature, craning her neck back to look up at eyes the size of space stations. The serpent lowered its head until it was close enough to swallow the child in a single bite. "You're sad too," Emma said in her clear, piping voice. "Just like Luna was sad. You've been alone for so long that you forgot how to be happy." The void serpent's death scream cut off abruptly. In the sudden silence, Emma reached up with one small hand and placed it against the creature's snout, just as she had with Luna a week before. "It's okay," she whispered. "You don't have to be scary anymore." The transformation was even more dramatic than Luna's had been. Light erupted from the point of contact, spreading across the creature's massive form in waves of silver and blue. The electromagnetic storms generated by its presence shifted to gentle aurora displays. Most remarkably, the predatory intelligence in its eyes was replaced by something that could only be described as wonder. One by one, the other serpents in the circle began to approach. Some came to Luna first, seeking the guidance of their transformed sister. Others came directly to the humans, drawn by the same inexplicable force that had changed their companions. Dr. Chen found herself face to face with a creature the size of a skyscraper as it lowered its massive head in an unmistakable request for contact. Her hand trembling only slightly, she reached out to touch its snout. The creature's purr shook the ground beneath her feet. "Remarkable," she breathed, feeling tears stream down her face inside her helmet. "We've been fighting these creatures for centuries, never realizing that they were just as trapped by their nature as we were by our fear." By the end of the day, all 8 void serpents had undergone the transformation. The crater had become a gathering place for beings of unimaginable power who had discovered, through human contact, that protection and companionship brought more satisfaction than destruction and solitude. In the Galactic Council chamber, the implications were still being processed. 8 transformed void serpents, Ambassador Zethkar said, in a voice barely above a whisper. The most feared predators in known space, turned into protective guardians by human empathy. "It's not just empathy, Doctor," Nexville corrected. her sensors still processing impossible readings from the Kepler system. It's the complete absence of appropriate fear, combined with genuine affection. Humans approach these creatures with the same emotional state they would show to any animal in distress. They see past the surface to the underlying nature, Senator Vexthal added. Where we see cosmic horrors, they see beings capable of forming bonds. Commander Zixthara leaned back in her chair, her battle-scarred exoskeleton reflecting decades of warfare against the creatures now purring contentedly on the planet below. This changes everything. If humans can consistently produce this effect, they could transform our entire relationship with the universe's apex predators, Counselor Thexrim finished. No more evacuation protocols. No more desperate fleet battles. Just friendship. The view screen showed the final image that would reshape galactic civilization. Emma, sitting cross-legged between Luna's protective coils, reading a story to 8 of the most powerful creatures in known space. Around her, human adults conducted peaceful scientific research, while children played games that involved void serpents, as gentle participants, rather than threats to be feared. Ambassador Zethkar stood slowly, his tentacles steady for the first time in days. We need to draft new protocols immediately, if humans can pacify void serpents through simple emotional connection. We must establish contact with every human colony in the galaxy. And the serpents? Senator Vexthal asked. We treat them as what they apparently are, Zethkar replied, watching Emma giggle as Luna's massive nose nuzzled her stuffed animal. Highly intelligent beings who have been desperately lonely for eons, waiting for someone brave enough, or perhaps innocent enough, to offer them friendship instead of fear. The transformation of 8 void serpents by human kindness marked the beginning of a new age in galactic relations, an age where the universe's most feared predators became its most devoted protectors. All because a little girl had looked at a cosmic horror and seen not a monster, but a friend in need of a kiss. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting the light of silver-blue scales and the laughter of children who had never learned that some things were supposed to be impossible.